souls, and welcome back to the Alchemist and the Oracle, a space where we engage in spiritualized conversations that deepen understanding, inspire transformation, and spark meaningful dialogue about life's most profound truths. And she is slowly. I am Nicole. Why do you do this every time? The Oracle. And I she's back. I'm joined by
But
my
that was
co-host, Ardeshir RN, also known as the Alchemist. Welcome to the Alchemist and the Oracle. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to those who have subscribed, those of you that have been engaging with the videos and commenting. We appreciate that. As well as those of you that are sharing our videos. And if you're watching and have not subscribed to the channel, be sure to do that as well. It's free to do. It costs you nothing. So I'm going to allow the Warriors Ardeshir RN to take over because she has picked today's topic, hopefully by now.
well, I mean, there's so much going on in the world, and there's, so much to kind of share and to kind of, and I believe in my title, to awaken to and know that this is probably what's going on. There's a lot of shift going on in the atmosphere, a lot of things going on in the world that you might be feeling somewhere because I'm feeling that way, and even being who I am and still becoming who I have chosen to become and to serve as I always have is to be aware of those things. And that means if you feel like life is falling apart or feeling like there's a lot of chaos going on within, not so much around you. And, we need to find peace within that moment as well, is means that you're probably at a state where you're awakening, or you're, having a spiritual awakening that feels like chaos, and that's a good thing. So kind of when we're looking at is if you feel like life is crumbling and things of that nature, that might not be a bad thing. It's just showing that there's shifts going on in your dynamic. And I wanna, yeah, I mean, you know, it's just one of those things as I become aware of the battle that we might feel this tug and pull sometime about which way, we ought to be because we get so comfortable in the way things have been or how we survived. Is this you were talking about before we got together here, this shield of armor that we need to let go of because we're becoming anew. And it's so true. And when there's things are shifting, if we don't shift, there's not a lot of people who are going to be hanging around. And I say this with love, it's just a truth. I'm seeing it, pretty much
Mhm.
within my world, and we're walking around here kind of, zombied out in a way. Just know that, this chaos or this change or this falling apart that you may be feeling um, is um, is a way of letting you know that change is going on, and for you to go ahead and follow those changes that are going on and the shifts that are happening within your own self, and that you are awakening to becoming a new you, and it all begins within. Um, so those are some things, and awareness is always key, and sometimes because the little inklings that I, have spoken about, those little intuitions and things that tell us we kind of are so used to doing, we overlook them or we fight, our becoming or our newness in the midst of what's going on, because most of our challenges are within. It's not so much what's around us. We think that what's going on around us in the world is that, but it's mostly what's going on within our own selves. And um and one of my stories is that that's going on now, of just standing in divine power, and being exactly who you are to be in this moment. And sometimes, that means certain things will fall off, certain people will fall off, certain things that no longer serve you have to fall off for you, especially in this time and shifts and you speak about more of the 9 year of how we need to release and allow. Allowing is the biggest thing. Allowing was meant to be to come in. So yeah. So yeah, I know that it's a good thing, and we just have to be still. That's another thing that maybe you just talking about is being still. A drill in silence has been challenging even for me because the shift that's going on, the ego does not want to be silenced. It does not want to make the move because it has protected, for me, has protected me, and it's the same with most other people, has protected you for so long. And so, it's gonna fight being silenced. It's not gonna ever go away. But the whole thing is to create a thing where it's balanced, where it's on that even keel, where you're aware, in fight or flight, then it needs to come up for protection. But as you're growing and moving and soaring, it does not want to be, because it's that deceptive intelligence that's saying everything other than the truth of who you are. So once you become aware and are able to silence or neutralize the ego, then you become more of who you are, and you get away from the lies that I'm not good enough, that I'm not this, and I'm not that, and all this stuff is going on. Relationships, sometimes, as hard as it may be, depending on how you got into them, may not have been serving of you, because how Spirit is having me come to talk about this is that we're all looking for something to make us happy when we need to make the happiness within ourselves. So, you have to be happy with yourself before you can do anything else, and how somebody can love you, because people are who they are, and we have to understand that you grow together is to rise together. If someone's going in a different direction than you, or another pull than that, sometimes we want to hold on, and sometimes we just have to let go. As challenge that mean, because we get attached to something, and sometimes, you know, some people just have to fly in a different direction than us, and we have to do the same. And until you find the one who can grow with you on the same page, so we find a lot of chaos in relationships that came up, when I was at one of my spots that I like to go to out here, and I wasn't trying to listen. And people, it's like somebody wants to make a move, and the other person's like, "Well, you want to make this move?" And it's like, because it's best, it's best for me. I mean, we can still be together, but sometimes people move in together really prematurely, and you have to understand that sharing the space with somebody is really a really, that's it. It's very intimate, sharing space, and we all have our own kind of ways, and we have to, communicate that. So when we look at the chaos, there's so many different types of things that are going on. Unfortunately, I want to share my love to those who may be losing their jobs, and they say all about federal, because I was thankful to have served in that capacity with that entity. And so I share a lot of love in there, and you might feel the chaos, but also the world is telling you to look somewhere different, to search somewhere different, and know that that's okay, and that there may be a greater purpose for you. And if you are getting, my thing is when you're, getting notification, then it's time to utilize that time that you have to look at what it is that you're being called to do differently, because we get so attached to things. I mean, even in the 90s, I didn't even know what downsizing was, and they were doing that, and I just thought it was a horrible thing, but I realized that, we have to stand in power, to be still, like Ia says, Ayala, and and do that. And it's for some of us, the hardest thing to do because we're just so used to doing what I got to do here, what I got to do there, and understanding that there's a shift going on for you to step into something that's even greater than what you were involved in, whether it work or relationships in that matter. So I just wanted to see what your take was on this here. Because when we look at the moves and the shifts that's going on, is that there's a new dynamic going on within, and that we have to understand as we're coming to our true selves that there's some shifts going on within on a spiritual level, and it's really, really heightened right now. At least it's heightened for me. and and to just allow it to be and to grow. And everything begins within. And once we understand that, we can make the shifts because we are the ones that shift our own dynamic in this world, regardless of what's going on around it. I saw it with a best friend of mine from '08. Stuff was still going on, things were still happening, money was still being made. It's just shifts that had to be done. And that's the same with now. 2020 was another example of chaos and shifting and how we are where we are today. And some of us, a lot of us, we made it through. We survived. Now it's time to thrive. So I'm gonna let you in. I'm done with my little beginning of my little hey. If you feel like feeling the fire, know that it's okay. So
So
obviously yeah.
I am, I think you mentioned a very good point. I'm looking through I just happen to have my tarot cards on the deck on the table here, and I hardly ever
Mhm.
do. And you speak about like the cycles of life, and I think the older you get, you start to recognize the patterning of these cycles.
Mhm. Mhm.
And hopefully, you understand that you get to a level of understanding the power in cycles, beginnings and the middle and the endings. And so right now we are in the a 9 year, which is all about endings. And this
Mhm.
9 year, I feel, has a level of intensity, um, unlike any other, because there's a lot of planetary alignments as well that are influencing,
Mhm.
that just kind of sprinkle a little seasoning of things on top of this being a 9 universal energetic year. I describe this year as the tower moment in the tarot deck. So, for those of you that may not even know on this channel, I actually do read tarot. And so, I pulled the tarot card out. So, when you look at the tarot card, look it up. When you look at the tarot card, it's a level of like destruction. There's a level of chaos. When you look at like the traditional Rider Waite tarot, for the tower card, there's a tower. There's people that are like falling out of the tower that has fallen. There's the tower is on fire. There's lightning, and there's a level of intensity that this year is bringing. We're also in a new way of existing on a world level.
Yes.
You think of like different eras, like the Industrial Revolution. We're in this period of a transition of how we live. We're moving into the artificial intelligence arena, and it's very bruising. And so what happened when you look back at history and look at like what happened during the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot of industries that just disappeared. People lost their jobs. And it's challenging, it's bruising, it gives a level of destruction that is painful. But with the pain is you find the empowerment as best as you can. I find if you can get comfortable in that cycle, in understanding cycles and understanding that cycles are patterns, recognizing the patterns before you get into the chaos of what's coming up, you
Okay.
start to see that the world isn't working against you per se. You look at it from the standpoint of like, this is what's going on. What can I do to not be in full on chaos and like, oh my God, death and destruction, like full overwhelm and I'm not gonna say that word because I'm trying not to cuss on here. Effery,
Oh,
like just the effery of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and at the same time, I think it's important to acknowledge the challenge, to acknowledge the challenges. I think a lot of times it's like you either have to be on either side of like the the scale. Like either like you're in like full on chaos mode or you're just kind of like sitting back chilling like, "Oh, I'm good." But
well,
be
you,
comfortable like being in the middle and kind of exploring how yeah, like I may be like chaotic about or in my feelings about having lost my job, but I'm also like cool about like I don't necessarily maybe you have a cushion, you know, maybe you have like a savings account. So you have that
I'm in
foundation,
that.
but it's still
Mhm.
destabilizing at the same time that you lost your job because your entire world and how you perceived or thought or looked at your future has shifted and changed. And
Yes.
we're in that cycle of that is what's coming. There's players that are put in place on purpose to really lean into their understanding of the energy because everything is energy. And when you start to understand the energetics and how powerful people can manipulate the energy, you start to connect to your own energy and your own capacity to align and attune and really manipulate the energy. I know a lot of people have a hard time with the word manipulation, but that's what it is. And there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with manipulation. It's about your intention and how you're manipulating it is what I find the distinction is. And you do have some people that are manipulating it to lean into the chaos. Some people are all about death and destruction. They're
yeah,
having a ball right now.
yeah. On that spiritual connection inside, um, when you find yourself in the whole thing that Major's doing, Waking in a Million, and doing that is as you find yourself doing this awakening process, is that it's like a lot of us, especially women, have worn so many masks, you know, in our let me see, I don't know, fight just to be who we are as mothers, as lovers, as many different things. So what happens here is that our old identities, belief systems, attachments are starting to dissolve. This spiritual death. Now, how it may be, well, is to have that and relationships and careers that we were just talking about are and material thing may shift and fall away, and that's exactly what you see happening, and to continue to know that it's okay, and this feels so chaotic because slowly in this time, and like she says, a 9 year, is that in this awakening, the ego is dying off, and you have to allow that because it's gonna fight. It's gonna fight to stay in control. Um, and the ego self is that our, the deceptive intelligence that she says, it says we're this or we're less than or we're unworthy, but we're now in a shift here in 2025, and it's now clear that these things are dying off. And why is it necessary? Because you can't create a new life or a new self with old blueprint. I like that sound like Dean Graziosi talking about old blueprints. Tony Robbins. And so the alchemists say it may feel like you have this burn, but it's not. And it's just to reveal the gold within and who you are and what's happening during this time. It also allows us to have more increased self-awareness during this time of transition, and during this time in questioning our life and purpose, which we don't really sit down and do because we're going all the time and we're doing all the time. And even with our children, to have them to have that sense so they don't go, so they go into the world differently than we, with a lot more awareness and a lot more um, life skills than most. So everything is falling off, and that battle and also fear is to go ahead, as you mentioned, and getting into trust the process that's going on right now. And sit with it, and being still needs it. And to allow your authentic self, however you identify God, source, creator, universe, to speak through you, especially during this time. And yeah, it's in the chaos is an amazing thing. And as we look at the caterpillar in this transformation, that's kind of what's even going on in the world. The earth is shifting, it's transforming. And based upon what our dear Nick said, it's just that moment. And what we're seeing is just a call for newness, a call to become renewed, anew. That's within, that's in the world as we're seeing what's going on. And we have to get out of the world. We have to undomesticate. And while you were speaking, my dear, you just remind me of a piece I wrote 8 years ago this month. Not this late in the month, but I think it was right either before my birthday and right before my mother had crossed. Just the depth of my spirit speaking to me, and to look at it 8 years later, this is exactly what has manifested or is manifesting.
Mm.
And I remember my friend said, you need to read that poem every day that you wrote, and I forget sometimes. And some other things about, you know, there's a new horizon coming, and maybe I'll read this piece publicly. I really want to publish it.
You should
Um,
do a book of poetry.
yeah, huh?
A book of poetry. I feel
Yeah,
like we can
yeah.
collaborate. Well, you know what? We'll talk offline about this.
Wonderful, wonderful. That'd be really awesome. So in the I don't know if I shift the title. The title is exactly what is going on in the chaos when you are letting go. So you're dying when you're getting rid of old identities. That's death. People look at death as leaving body. That ain't the only thing that's happening. When you are becoming anew and releasing, of this mask and that mask and things of that nature, and increasing your awareness, and like I said, taking the time to question, you know, have deep questions within, and feeling this disconnected from old versions, heightening your sensitivity and empathy, attraction to the practices, and doing the work, on my one of my other shirts, it's just like, do the work. You have to do the inner work. It's hard. We really don't want to see ourselves, truly see ourselves, the essence, the shadows, the things and the difference, which are, a different topic in that, but you know, that we understand that we can be better. We can, there's a kind of a difference between the manifestation, but we can also attract what we desire and in relationships as well. That person, we're all looking to be with somebody, serve somebody, but if you're not sitting still with yourself, getting to know yourself, know what it is to love yourself, to be loved, in order to have or attract that to yourself as well, which means you have to get rid of old versions of yourself. I think I put something on my IG channel, something that I have on my wall, talks about. All right. I'm sure the recording cut off, right?
Yeah, girl, I
I
don't
can't hear
know
you.
what that's about. You can't hear me?
I lost you for a good while. I can hear you now.
Well, whenever things like that happen, it means whenever I talk about concepts about energy manipulation, I always get kicked out. I kid you not. And I'm getting kicked out again. Am I frozen? Oh no.
Kind of stuck
Oh
in
my
your
gosh.
in your
Okay, we're
expressive
back.
mode.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that doesn't
Whenever I
normally
talk
happen.
about energy, every time, because the last time I had a conversation with someone else and we was talking about how there's powers that be that understand how to manipulate energy for whatever it is, it, yeah. It's like someone's like, no, no, no. I had this many issues on Zoom. We have never
No,
had issues like this.
no. I think that the
A powerful
energy,
conversation.
yeah, indeed, indeed.
Mm,
And people always find with something like to have that, like it have this perfect. I know that we're getting away from perfection, and because things happen in the way that they happen for whatever reason. And I know that the extensive energy that you have and I have is pretty powerful, and to understand that the power that we have, and when you talk about energy, energy is powerful. I'm going
mm,
to make an analogy that when somebody things will go out or their heart stop, we're made out of entry. What do they use to bring the heart back? They use electricity.
electricity. Yep.
We are electric. So, in another example, is sometime I might have, and it very seldom happens, but there's a day where I can go all day where I can't touch anything metal because I don't know, I'm lit, I guess. I'm just
Oh, you
lit.
get like
And
shock. Like, ooh,
oh, really? I mean, I'm talking about bad. I mean, like, woo, oh, can't touch that. I be
mm,
lit. And I ain't talking about the lit that most people know. I don't try to get lit like that anyway. So, but
yeah, not my bag,
them
as
day,
they say.
them day, them days are done. I just get bubbly. The red wine is good for the blood for most
But you
people.
don't you don't even need anything to get lit. You
Actually,
just
I
are
don't.
that. You already are that. So,
So lit, yeah, girl. I
oh
mean,
man.
yeah, we have to honor that. I mean, I have to honor that. So when you look at that, and then to have this, but you know, people have to know. People think they're broken. People say, "Oh, yeah, I gotta go find." I said, "I had to find myself because I was never lost." Shit, I said, I just need to connect. But the better was you need to connect with your authentic self. That's what we're looking for, is to connect, because we feel something that's so off. We're not broken, never been broken. We just have, been through some things or some journeys to get us through today. For I go back and look at what I shared 3 years ago publicly here in my town on this panel, dealing with wow, this is really human trafficking and things of that nature, looking at how it happens, showing the dynamics of how that comes about, how situations, and to be thankful that didn't happen, is to understand that this journey while you're still in body is to help you heal. I mean, to have the healing, the thing that I had last year, the things that I get more into it about this harmonic egg that Ia had introduced. To have one here in this town, I need to get to them. And I think that I have it, and I'm so thankful for Charles out in I think it's Bel Air, Maryland. And his due diligence there in the healing processes with music and stuff. We're not broken. We're just trying to come to a point where we get to our authentic self.
Yeah, we're detached, not
That
broken.
yes, yes, and to know that that you're not, and to trust the process and make the shifts that you're being called to make. Because when I make examples, I always use driving, but that intuition that tells you that, and we would dismiss it so quickly. Is even in relationships, we'll feel that, but we feel we need to be with somebody this and that. That's not necessarily true, because you're getting messages that that's not for you in this moment, or that person may not be. They may be for somebody else, but they may not be for you in this moment. And we force and we push and we don't take the inklings, the little messages that come. My stuff is in my stomach, where I feel that. And then it will feel a certain way, and that means you don't make that move. And you can wait and you don't have to force something, like I did what I was doing 2 years ago and did something else. And all these years went by, and I'm like, I have something I have to deal with this evening, and pray to God that I'll get one thing accomplished, so I can help other people, as I have been helped and assisted with moving into the authentic and true nature of my being. It's not that I haven't walked it. I think ever since I was a little girl, I go back, and I thought I was alone, but I was just different. I needed time to recover. I didn't know what that was when being out with people, and then having to come in, and thank God I had my own room. Me and my brother both did, but I had the bigger room because I needed more space. I don't see my parents knew that.
Okay. It's very Taurian of
So
you.
for sure. So
Righty then.
so just know that that you are not falling apart. We'll share some things as I let
I think you are falling apart
Nick and
though. Like, why falling apart? We attach so many deep, like, oh my God, like this is super bad. What's
yeah.
wrong with falling apart? Because sometimes things are meant to fall away
Oh, you got, yeah.
from
I like your
you.
analogy of that. So you can piece it back in the new stuff. Yeah.
I didn't think I
Not
think
that.
there's some things that aren't meant to be a part of us. So we
Oh
need
yeah,
to
yeah.
fall
Most,
apart.
no doubt.
And it's kind of
I like
like
that analogy.
shedding a skin, you know?
Yeah, that's
It
true.
can
The
look like,
snakes
if you
do it.
look at a snake, it looks like
Yes,
the
they
snake
do.
is falling apart. I
And
think
it
this is the
still looks
perfect
like that.
analogy. When you
Yeah.
look at a snake and it's shedding its skin,
Yes.
there is this period where it's like jagged, you can see the new skin and the old skin, and it's kind of like, ooh, that's really, it's quite, it stirs something within you.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But yet and still, it's still gonna happen. You can't change it. And I think sometimes we fight against falling apart when that's part of growth. That's part of transformation. It's part of elevation. And sometimes, kind of like what you were saying, how like friends fall away. Things are meant to fall away because we're in cycles. We're in cycles of our life, and what was serving at one time just is chaos right now. Like prime example, there's someone that I don't even want to say, like, I would use friend very loosely on this
Okay.
person.
Understood.
Um,
I got that.
but now whenever we have a conversation, it's just so chaotic. because it's no longer aligned. We're just not aligned to be in each other's energy in the way that we used to be. And so I'm learning to just, just kind of letting it be as it is, and I'm fine with it. But she's
I
like
like that.
struggling, like, oh my God, like, why don't you call? You don't answer my text messages, my
Mm,
emails, and and
wow, that's a big cup.
yeah, I heard that. Hydrate your body.
Yeah, I like my
Maybe
water.
that's what some of you guys need to do. Start hydrating your body. I think a lot of people don't drink enough quality water as well.
Yeah,
Look into the type of water that you're drinking. Stop drink if you do bottled water, no judgment, but I'm getting ready to judge your levels. There's
it's
levels
not
to it.
good.
Don't
Yeah,
drink the purified water. Drink spring water because you want to get the minerals in it if you have to. I see so many people drink purified water. It's like you don't know, no, drink spring water. But that's the more you know for today. Going back to what we're talking about
yeah, I'll get
specifically,
into that later
um,
on my
I'm
IG.
rereading this book called Vital Force by Rashir Patel. I'm so sorry. I'm pretty sure I butchered her
I
name.
know who that is.
But the name of
Yeah.
the book is Vital Force. And one of the
Oh, wow,
things
that's
that
interesting.
I love about that book, she
Got it.
talks about this concept of the chaos set point. We've been in a chaos set point since 2020.
Yeah, yeah, that's no doubt.
And when you, so what a chaos set point is like it's very chaotic because the point hasn't set down. And so we're just kind of like things are swirling. There's a level of instability for some people. And I think my design and my purpose is I am the tower card. One of my talents is I'm fine being in the shadows, and I see the beauty of the darkness. I see the beauty of destruction, like the beautiful, like there's this beautiful disaster, right? It's so contradictory, but there is beauty in destruction. And I think we fight so much against that idea or that reality that that's actually a truth, that there's beauty in everything, even in the chaos, even in the destruction, even in death. But this chaos set point that we're in, it's very destabilizing for a lot of people. And I think it's important to be aware of where we are so you don't feel so chaotic in thinking like, what the hell is wrong with me? Like, and sometimes you can look at other people and it seems like, well, why are they like not like chaotic or what have you? And maybe they're just aware of, okay, this is the cycle we're in. All right, I'm just gonna flow with it and I trust the process. I think it's also really important to not look at other people and to honor where you are. And if you're feeling chaotic, feel chaotic as hell. Feel chaotic. If you're like angry, sad, feel all of the emotions because I think avoiding it is part of the problem. And I see so many people avoiding it. They're trying to pretend like it's not chaotic. It's like, no, that's not going to affect me today. I'm not going to let that affect me. Good vibes only, high vibes only. And it's like, what are you doing? You're part of the chaos. You're creating this chaos by avoidance versus acknowledging,
Mm.
like, yeah, you know what? I feel kind of sad today. You know
You
what?
talk,
I feel kind of like angry about things.
now you talking about the chaos within that we're feeling
Just
within, right? Well,
outside
outside is
within.
chaos. We have
I
no
mean,
control
it's
of
your
that.
point of
Yeah.
reference is always, it always goes back
Within,
to yourself. It
within.
always
Yeah, of
attaches
course.
back to yourself.
I
But
just
there's
want
some things
everybody to
that
know
are
that.
beyond our control. Uh, but the reminder is to feel it all and like you said, come back to yourself and make adjustments, attune to like, okay, I'm feeling really angry today. What's something that I can do that brings me a little bit of joy? That's healthy, that I won't regret like like an hour from later, an hour from that
Right.
time frame or a year from now. We do want to ensure that we are choosing healthy modalities and ways of I don't want people to eat their pain. But if you're eating your pain, like, okay, give yourself a bit of grace as well.
Just don't sit in it. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I see, I'm the one that's like, no, we need to sit in it because that's part of
Well,
the problem is that I have too many conversations, especially with Black women, that take on the strong Black
okay,
woman
don't
role,
linger in it. Well, yes, I know about that.
and they take it on like it's an identity. They wear it as
Yeah.
identity, and I think
Yes, agree.
it's it detaches us from ourselves. Who says it's our identity? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Like, if you want to
Or
break it down, it goes back to slavery. We need the Black women to be strong. We need the Black women to take care of the family because we need y'all to come in this house and clean. We need y'all to go outside in the field and pick the cotton. We need you to lay here so I can like have my way with you. We need
right,
you to
right,
birth
right,
the
right.
babies. We need you to take care of our babies. We need you to feed our babies. I mean, we got to
True,
start
true. Yeah.
questioning a lot of the narratives that we attach to ourselves
Yes.
that is making like our soul is like calling out in such a way of the misalignment of the contradiction, and you
Yeah.
have every permission to get clear on what the things that are attached that are draining and just like have you like drowning in it, because I had to let go of the narrative of the strong Black woman because it's like I am
Yeah.
strong, but I'm also soft. I'm also, guess what? I'm human. I have feelings. If you cut me, I bleed too. I think we have to be really aware of what we attach our identity to
Love it.
because
Yes.
there's these we're broken because we have detached from the truth of our divinity.
Mm,
And so
mm,
there's all these armors that we put on that are
mm.
covering the only arm. I know this may be
That's what we
controversial
say.
to you, is I feel like we don't need any armor. Our armor is our covering of God. Our armor is our light.
Yeah. Oh,
And
I'm
in certain
listening. I like my
situations,
armor.
you have to figure out what your armor is. I think everyone has different armor because everyone has a different purpose in how they bring about. I think every human being's purpose is to be the light and the love and the demonstration of God and unconditional love. I think everyone's
Um,
approach is different because everyone has different experiences and everyone is in different cultures and different parts of the world.
I'll
So
explain. Yeah. Well,
that's
you
just
mean
my perspective.
well, as the spiritual warriors we are for me and learning and knowing, shielding up. Like I don't know if I've spoke in our interactions here, maybe in the beginning, when we
Yeah,
first came about.
we need to talk a little bit more about spiritual warriors. Maybe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because I don't use that term tightly. People say word. That's mm-mm, mm-mm, uh-uh. It's a it's a it's something creative and just give it. It's just like if I did, some people say, I mean, if I was to save, or I was decided in my service that I would take a bullet from somebody. You know, It's a
Hmm.
whole different type of, thing. And then when I look at shielding up, it's just like getting out into the world in the city. And I think that I told you that I had noticed where my whole demeanor changed when I got into a certain part of town. And I had become aware of that because I was picking up and then found out that I was even more well, was empathic than I really gave myself credit for.
Oh, you were feeling into the energy. Yeah.
Oh, the thickness, just
Mm-hmm.
the I don't even know, the dark, just the
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 energy.
the
You were
the
feeling
energy
into the
was
energy, the
was
density of it. Yeah.
awful. Oh my God. And so I realized in the car and then driving, and then how I enjoy that, in the way that maybe even everywhere now, but I know what it is here. And just the whole disrespect for the role and the endangerment that I see. I like to move like anybody else, but I ain't trying to do it because I love me and I love people, and I'm trying to get to where I need to
Said I
be
ain't trying to
without you
do it.
running.
I love people and I love me. 10 toes down on that statement for sure.
And enjoy the open road. So it's hard in the city. People doing the average speed is 80. So
That's the average speed? 80. Wow.
girl, and so
What's the speed
before I lose
limit?
my train is that I have to shield up. I have to shield. Sometime I was in the car and I was like, I had to shield up so I could block, so I can still stand in who I am and want to present, and still can, because I'm always going to give, that love to you. I'm gonna know what's happening. Hi, I'm gonna speak to you. We had that conversation, and it's all good because people, they either sometimes they got the ear thing or they got this, and some of them walk in the street and I'm like, this is just oblivion. I mean, people, I mean, I mean, there's somewhere I pay attention. Sometimes now I have to more realize that people are in the salt wake about the street, but see, it's a two-way street. We all have to pay attention to one another.
I look at it
It's
as
just not just one
entitlement.
thing.
I think it's
Yeah.
entitlement, not oblivion.
Yeah.
I'm
That
sorry.
too.
That's
Yeah.
mm-mm. It doesn't
So
make
I
sense
have
that it's
to.
oblivion. Like you're not oblivious to the fact that you have earbuds in your head
Yeah, I mean, and walking
and
across the
walking
street,
across the street.
but in the phone, I mean, there was a child that came off of the bus, the yellow, and just crossed the street and was in the phone. Was in the phone, and I'm like,
Was
this
he
is
by
this is
himself crossing the
crazy.
street?
Well, no, the thing had did, but there's been some people and some incidences where people have just dismissed the bus. Now, some of them
Oh, he
got a
was
thing
getting
that
off the
comes
school
across them.
bus.
The school bus, yes, yes, yes,
Oh,
school
girl, we've
bus,
had so many kids
and just
get
walked
hit.
off the bus. I mean, they was actually they had to walk down the steps. Did the bus come around? The thing is out, but you had to make sure you're stopped, and then cross the street. And this person never let this little young child never looked right, never looked anything. Was maintained in that phone. And like I said, you have to
That's
be aware too,
so
because there's some people, I
dangerous.
just happen to be the one in the front that people will just run and
Yeah.
dismiss and we know it's a huge fine or more than that here, that to dismiss that bus stop and go on the other stop and just go on, and kids are being hit. I mean, it's just insane. And like I was just realized somebody was in the crosswalk and I seen, because you got the big ones, but we got to pay attention that somebody's crossing. And normally you have to have somebody behind you because people will bump you because they want to turn left. I'm like, no, somebody's in the crosswalk. So this other one, and you can just feel, I can feel when people like, it's like they all up in my hiney in my car. And it's like, no, there's somebody in the crosswalk. So the crosswalk was long. So I just took off and I was like, no. And I was like, mm-mm. You either gonna hit me or you're gonna wait. So, it's just those times where
Entitlement is entitlement.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think there's a level of entitlement that I feel some people have when they're behind the wheel of the car. Like, I'm
Hmm.
entitled to drive as I want to drive, right? But the
That's
thing
what I'm
about
saying.
it is,
Yes.
like, if you have that entitlement, guess what? So do I.
Mm.
Maybe I want to go the speed limit. Maybe I'm driving the speed limit because maybe I have a passenger that's sick.
Hmm.
You just never really know. And I think
Agreed.
people are just the impatience that people have. And I
And
also
I have to catch
acknowledge
myself here with that too.
you really
With
do because
that
you can kind of get
into it.
impatient
Trust. Yeah. Girl,
because
yes.
it breeds that
Yeah.
level of energy because it's like I need to get here and I need to be here by a certain time. And it's like you have all these lights and you have all these cars and you have
That's this
people.
is chaos
Then
on
you
the streets.
have
I don't
like
like it.
people that are just in
That's
their
chaotic
own
for me.
world when they're
Yes.
driving.
Yes.
Yeah,
And you're sharing the street with other people. See,
it's
yeah.
hard. But it goes back to kind of what we're talking about. like how we become challenged when we have to deal with other people constantly. That's the challenge. One thing that did come up is when you were talking about the armor. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I realized I identify my armor as discernment.
Shoot. Mm-hmm.
Like if I had to put a
Mm-hmm.
word to it, I would say it's
Mm-hmm.
discernment.
That's a good one. Awareness.
Um,
Yeah. Shield, the helmet, all that, all that we
yeah,
know that you have to bounce
we
this
should
off.
talk about that. I feel like that would
Yeah.
be a good conversation for us to have because
Mm-hmm.
we use our armor very differently
Mm-hmm.
as well. So stay tuned. And I think that's the most popular episode on our channel is when we
Yeah.
talked about being spiritual
As
warriors.
warriors. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, maybe we'll go into it when we come back from our um our summer break. So fair warning, I'm just gonna start preparing you all. We're going on a bit of a break, but we'll have some little tidbits to kind of drop in. But
Oh, we got my interview. My
yeah,
birthday.
that's coming up. But
Yeah.
it's just like after my birthday, which is in June. Bye. Happy summer, but we'll be back.
Yes, indeed, for
So maybe
sure.
that's something we can explore coming back from summer.
Hmm.
Because I think people are really interested in that. And I think it kind of aligns with the topic that we're talking about today is like the spiritual war that we're in. We are in World War III. It's one of consciousness,
Hmm. Hmm.
not land,
Hmm.
not
Kind of
land
what Major's
control
doing.
or
Yeah.
money. And
Awakening.
a lot of people have awakened. Like the Great Awakening happened. So there was two levels to the Great Awakening. I feel like the light workers, the support system awakeners happened in 2020. And when you
Yeah.
look at like the energy of 2020, it's about laying the foundation for where we are now. And right
Yeah.
now, we had the Great Awakening that happened like March 20, I think it was March 29th. There was a planetary
Hmm.
alignments and what have you. So you have people that have awakened to very harshly, might I add. This is a harsh awakening. It's very harsh, especially it being in a 9 year, which is a 9 year. No one is not going to have bruises on the other side of it. It's a matter of how you approach the therapy, the care and attention of the bruises that you get. Some people
Yeah.
they'll get like a little bruise, like, oh, okay, all right, let me put my little ointments on it. Let me say a prayer over it. I'm good. Other people, the bruise will turn into a full on cut, and they're like their arm, it extends to like their arm. Gangrene is set in, and like their arm may have to come off now. Like it's just a matter, and it's all okay. It's part of the process, but
Yes.
we're in this spiritual war of consciousness. People, it's the brain, it's the mind, it's the human consciousness. I feel is the war that we're in, and it's World War III. It's very different. It's different than the other wars that we've been in, which is why we were called to enlist and are now on the front line supporting people who are
Yes.
awakening, because we need to be on the front line to provide a level of protection for the people that are awakening.
Guidance. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so it's been it's so crazy to think though, girl. And I'm gonna talk to you like this, right? We're not
As
even that
always.
far into the year, and so much has happened.
I
And I
know.
have to give people a fair warning. This summer, brace yourself. July, when we're gonna be on vacation, because I see the timing of it.
Unless we
It
have to pop in. Yeah.
buckle up. All right. Fair warning, buckle up. Also, you are going to be okay. I think it's okay to hear people's warnings and not as an indication that you need to go into like full on breakdown or what have you. No, it's like think of like thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings. They're serving to give you like, okay, hey, just be aware. It's just like just be
Mhm.
aware of what is going on around you. That's my point is serving in that capacity.
And this whole thing about age and all this, I mean, some of your most brilliant people, your people with wisdom, people who have experience, people who have been, and you take advantage of that. And even some of our youthful people, it's just like people recognize people, even younger. You have this, so you have this and that, and we dismiss people. I'm like, everybody gonna get older at one point in time. It's about how you, for me, it's about how you take care of yourself in the process. It's about how you see things. It's about how continue to look at different things. Because being set in your ways, that ain't serving. That ain't serving at all. Now, the one thing that I might end up talking about later is respect. And that's somebody said that stuff that flew out the window. But I'm not letting it fly out the window.
Not flew out the window.
Somebody
Was the
missed. I
window
say,
cracked
yeah,
open or did it bust through the window? I'm just
it
curious.
busted through the window. It's like,
Oh,
bye.
oh, oh,
It's
that's a
like,
whole
bye.
different
Because
level of energy.
Yeah, because I was talking to somebody and I said, well, I'm thinking about kind of talking about this here thing about respect, and how it's not around. She said, oh, no, honey, that then flew by the window. I was like, ooh, it busted through. And I was like, it's like gone. I mean, we have to come back to, So there's some spiritual
Well,
things in
that's going to
reference
be
to
a
that.
conversation to look forward. That's going to be a
Yeah,
conversation to look forward to. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel for that, I'm going to keep adding in my little subscribe to the channel
that's right.
reminders.
Subscribe to the channel and share your stories in reference to
Yeah.
this here topic and what you see going on and how you feel, because it's such, when you're waking up, having the shift and strength is so strong, and it's hard not to recognize it, but we kind of dismiss you know what is happening for us, and that these change is always going to happen, and how we look at the change. I have something I'm dealing with now. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. Just might be something that I have to deal with, but I have to know that I am the creator of my own life. I'm the creator of what I can create and choose for it to be, not by anybody else's standard, but that of my own, my true self.
Mm.
And that you can have that for you. So share, like she said, let's have a conversation, chime in, and let's continue to support each other in our, let me see, elevationness. That's my word. Because see,
Okay.
I have my own dictionary, I heard, and it's based upon one of my legal names. One of
She
my
got so
boys
many
told me
names,
back
y'all, at this point.
told me back in the day that I had my book and I would call it Tina-isms.
Okay. Tinaisms. All
Now I'm gonna
right.
call them warriorisms.
On that note, is there
It's
anything you
warriorisms.
wanted to close out? I know you I want to
I
give you the space to close it out if there's anything you want to
I
add
just
to the
think right
conversation.
now maybe we'll somebody, end it off. If you're driving or doing something and you made it this far, God bless you, thank you, we appreciate you, is to invite you to take some deep breaths with me. If you can, just take a couple of deep breaths, have you close your eyes,
Ooh, okay. I
and
love a good breathing session.
we're gonna do a 4, 4, and 4. I think that would be very good. So I'm just gonna have you kind of relax your body. If you're driving, you can do it with your eyes open. It's cool. It'll still work. Um, is to take a deep inhale through your nose, and then we're gonna exhale through the mouth. So I want you to hold it. I'll do the counts for us, and I invite you to do it now. Let's take an inhale. We're gonna do it for 4 seconds. Hold the breath. And exhale through your mouth. Give it a sound. So we're gonna do it 3 times because three is full circle. Inhale, hold the breath, Exhale through the mouth.
Mm.
All right, one last time. Just get back to your normal rhythm. All righty, inhale. Hold the breath. Then exhale through your mouth with a ah. So with that, if you can take your time to even do that a few seconds to the day to have your breath go through your body, connect with your inhale and your exhale, that will, bring you a little peace in the moment. So I'll end with that.
Okay, thanks. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for being in conversation with me, Warriors Ardeshir RN. I appreciate the conversation topic. I think it,
Deep bow.
yeah. Mm. So we're going to leave it there because I feel very relaxed right now. And I'm hoping this supports me as I hop in the car
Yes,
and
yes,
be among
yes.
the people. So thank you for being among our people and comment down below. Um, whatever moves you to comment. Um,
Yes, that.
and if you need further direction, comment the last emoji used as well. Those are always interesting to kind of see people's emojis or an emoji that this episode has left you feeling. And don't judge whatever the emoji may be. So thanks for
Right, right, right.
watching, and we hope to see you in the next video.
Much love, y'all. Peace.
Bye.